Have you ever seen your performance videos from the past and cringed at all the mistakes you made? Especially if your parents are proudly showing it off to a room full of people or circulating it on WhatsApp. In today's video, we're going to talk about how you could try and avoid some of those mistakes, because many of these might be a lot more evident on camera than in a live performance. To do this, I invited Ramya Durvasula of Kalanidhi dance, who is one of our first group dance fellows at IndianRaga, to share more specific tips. She with her team will be demonstrating a few tips and tricks to balancing, execution, and completion of dance postures and movements to give your video a more refined look.
So now that we've choreographed a piece that will look good when executed well, we have to make sure to actually execute it well. I know that a lot of us as dancers are used to watching videos of ourselves and giving ourselves corrections and wishing that we had done things differently. So it's really important to make sure that we practice the basics as well. One of the most important things is to use your core and to maintain your posture. This is especially prevalent when we do movements such as squats, jumps, and spins, where we really have to engage that part of our body. When you do a squat, do make sure to maintain Saushthavam and bring yourself up with your core instead of overcompensating with your leg muscles. The same is true for jumps. If you overcompensate and use just your leg muscles, you won't be able to maintain posture while you're in the air. Finally, if you aren't able to use your core during spins, you're not going to be able to land at your will. It's just going to be when gravity affects you. So it's important to use techniques such as spotting to make sure that you're able to maintain that alignment as well. So spotting is a technique where you want to maintain a focus with your eyes before you even start a spin. And when you return to that same point, you lock the same focus. You want your eyes to remain focused on that one spot for as long as possible so that your brain knows exactly where to land. It's very helpful typically. Saushthavam is just the name for the good posture that is described in the Natya Shastra, which basically describes that your shoulders and your hips should be aligned. So this is true whether you're standing upright or in the air for a jump or doing a squat. Some other things that, while we shouldn't have to be reminded of, we could always use a reminder. First is to dance with full extension. So make sure to really extend not just your arms and legs, which we do think about all the time, but to really use your torso, your waist, your hips, anything else to accentuate that movement and make it look as full as it should. In addition, we all need to remember to stay grounded. For dance styles that use Aramandi, make sure to commit to an Aramandi when you're supposed to be in Aramandi. This is something that we're all working on constantly, but it can't hurt to try harder. In addition to dancing your best as an individual, we have to dance our best as a group and work on that togetherness. So one thing that has helped us a lot, even though we've been dancing together for a long time, it's still something we have to work on continually, is to set literally everything in a piece. Set the looks, set the angles, set where in space all of us are going to be. One example of this in our piece was during the backward moving Namah Shivaya step, where before we set the looks, we were all choosing to do different things, each of which could be considered correct individually, but was very distracting to a viewer because we weren't moving together. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Another thing to do is to standardize how we're going to fill up time with a certain movement. For example, when we take the namaskaram, which happens repeatedly in this dance, we've agreed on when to reach the height of that and when to reach the peaks of each of our bends. So that way we all look uniform. If that wasn't done, the piece would be much less together. Namah Shivaya. Finally, we want to make sure that it's not just the pieces that have been choreographed of this music that are done together, but also the transitions. How do we get from point A to point B? The transition between verse 1 to verse 2 is a good example of this because we had to set not only the angles of our hands, but also where we would start our hands from when we took the spin and where we would end up in the pose.
So, remember to dance with abandon so that you can look at this video 100 times after the fact and be proud of your energy, levels, expressions, and clarity of movement. After all, being a performer is not just about exhibiting artistic prowess, but more importantly, is about enjoying the act of self-expression. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below and what other tips you would like to share on this subject. Hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I'll see you again soon in the next Founder Speaks segment. Veena kahastaya Sanatanaya.